Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the Nimrod Ninjas. We're back playing the Stanley Parable, but this time it's the Stanley Parable 2. It's where we left off from the last one. So the last video, if you haven't seen that, don't make sure to see those first before you see this one, the first two. And let's begin.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
Man, you have a boring job.
Might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay, let's do this.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply Stanley picked up the bucket.
Yes, the bucket is back. I'm so happy.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one.
Everything's the same so far.
Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find out. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy.
I can feel it, alright.
Day, this broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket.
I love the bucket.
Now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable.
Yep.
At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Let's go, bucket.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
I got
Stanley
my
and the
trusty
bucket walked
bucket.
straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Let's go, Mr. Bucket.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Okie dokie.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well?
Yes.
Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Let's go, Bucket.
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine
no,
and claim
bucket.
the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen.
Aw, birds.
Silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Ooh, this one. Flamingos. This one.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him.
Ah,
This wasn't a mind control
flamingos.
facility.
Oh,
It was a facility for
penguin.
monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken,
Man, there is
this
so
one
much.
was
Oh,
surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
I was so happy. We'll go back to flamingos. Again. I don't.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Balloons.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
No. We're not going to the meeting room.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Yeah, let's admire it.
The
I don't
lounge
have
was
the
sublime,
bucket.
a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nah.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
I think everything's the
I
same.
think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let
Uh,
her back
okay.
into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need...
If it's the same, this would be the last video.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come
Aww.
on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
Okay, guys. It's just gonna be the same thing over and over. Hope y'all enjoyed the Stanley Parable series. If y'all did, I know it's a short video, but if y'all did enjoy it, please subscribe, leave a like. It helps a lot. And if you like enjoying our videos, please hit that notification bell, and you'll be notified every time I upload a video. And thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.